My parents taught me anything you do, you be the 100%, 110%, be the best. I don't care if you're picking up trash off the street. I don't care what you're doing. You put your 110% in. These kids now is like, how much I need to pass? Oh, I need what percent? I'm gonna do just enough to tiptoe, right? So how do we
Right.
communicate? How do we communicate the things we need to communicate to this generation coming up? I know that's a lot of pressure to
Yeah, I
answer
know. Right?
that.
I think, and I totally agree with you because they will aim for the dirt.
Hmm.
And I try to instill in my kids as well as my students, like anybody could be basic, anybody
Mm.
could be whatever, but like you're better than that. And I think a lot of times they don't hear it. They don't hear that you're good. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. A lot of kids don't get that positive reinforcement. And I think, and go into the whole instant gratification and all these likes and follows and mentions and all that. And I try to tell my students and my kids that, first of all, half of that stuff is fake. All right.
Mhm.
It is just attention seeking, whatever. But you know who you are as a person, and you're better than basic. You're better than whatever. And like, particularly with my own children, like, if you want basic results, then you do basic things. But if you
Mhm.
want to live a lifestyle that's going to afford you some things that are better than the regular kind of stuff, then you need to do stuff that is going to give you results that are better than everybody else's or whatever. So, and reminding them that it takes work. Like, stuff doesn't happen overnight. Like, it's you got to put your grind in, you got to hustle, you also have to meet and greet people because you never know who is going to be that person that's going to help you out here, there, or wherever, or what kind
Mhm.
of connection you can build that's going to help elevate you or give you another opportunity. So definitely, yeah, just not aiming for the dirt. Try
Mhm.
to be better than basic, and just always being representative of who you are.
Welcome back to the Hospitality Hacks Pro Show, where we talk to interesting people in and around the food and beverage industry, as well as talk about tips, tricks, and tidbits, hacks, if you will, to help owners and operators navigate the industry. Today, last few episodes, it's been just me, but I have to bring a little razzle dazzle for y'all today. Very special guest today. Someone I like to let the guests introduce themselves, but I have to say someone that I'm proud to call a mentor, my hallway neighbor, and a friend, Miss Noriko Burgess, Mrs. Let me put the uh, uh, put the respect on the name. Welcome to the show, Miss Burgess.
Yes. Hey, so excited to be here.
So
Hey.
glad you're here. And I have to share with the audience, this is actually our second time attempting this. So the first attempt was like podcast slash school assignment. I interviewed Miss Burgess, but the audio was not synced. And I was like, oh no. So we had to bring her back. Had to do a double back.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, yes,
last
yes.
so I'm glad to have you take a few seconds and introduce the people yourself to the people, tell them who you are, what you do around the industry.
All right. Well, I am Noriko Burgess. I am a school teacher. I teach culinary arts at the Garinger High School here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I have been teaching like 22 years, something like that. So I am a old head, if you will, but I promise you, every day makes you feel like it's a brand new kind of situation. But yeah, I'm an educator by trade. I years and years and years ago, I did a little bit of hospitality work. I was a hostess at the IHOP on the weekends in Rock Hill, and this was so many moons ago. But I taught full time and I waited tables on the weekends because I was not Mrs. Burgess then. I was single and was just hustling. But pretty much I'm an educator by trade, culinary arts and anything in between in that area.
Mm-hmm. And I must say, those of you who know me and you follow the show, you know that teaching is a new thing for me, and in this capacity. So it's very man, I have such a now more elevated respect for teachers. I already had respect for teachers, but now after being in the trenches for these 3 years that have went by very quickly. I'm telling you, to hear you say it's been 22 years, I'm like, hats off. Thank you. Thank you for what you do for the babies.
I know, because yeah, the streets are real. They are
Yeah.
very real.
And I want you to take us back because I feel like if you do anything for 20 years, you gotta be, I mean, you gotta have the sauce, right? You gotta have the sauce. But take us back. Let's rewind a little bit and tell me what made you first even think about wanting to become a teacher.
I think even as a kid, I kind of wanted to be a teacher. I was that kid in school that would take home those extra papers at the end of the school year when the teacher was cleaning up everything. I would take those extra papers home. I would teach my stuffed animals. Um, so I think in a way, I always kind of wanted to be a teacher. I went to Winthrop University and I majored in family and consumer science education. So I'm what you would call a traditionally trained teacher. So I had like an internship when I was in college, and when I got licensed before I graduated, I was like, oh my God, like somebody said, I am okay to teach the kids. That was like a wow moment. But I always like helping people. I always like being a leader and being able to share knowledge that I have with others. So I think that's kind of what put me into the field.
Okay, okay. And I can see that. I can see Lil Burgess in front of the stuffed animals teaching teaching them they lesson, honey. I have the whole picture in my mind. Oh man. Oh man. So okay, so you went to school and so you're what's considered traditionally trained teacher. Speak on that if you would, just the act of teaching, because I think a lot of people in the industry don't realize as a manager or owner operator of a restaurant or a food and beverage establishment that it's not just opening the doors. You have to hire and train your people, which is teaching, right? And so speak on that. Like, what would you say is maybe the um top three most important things that you would say when it comes to trying to teach someone a new skill? What how would you approach that?
Definitely patience for sure. Because folks don't get it the first, second, maybe even third time. And unfortunately, because our world is so go, 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 get it, get it, get it, just having the patience to be able to teach something to someone and have them learn it the right way that it's supposed to be done, whatever the skill is. Um, right along with patience, I would also say maybe understanding and extending grace, especially post pandemic. It's just so many different situations going on with each individual. You don't know where their headspace is, what else they may have percolating in their lives. So, just the understanding and grace, I think, is another thing that's crucially important. And I guess maybe also forgiveness. Just
Mm,
knowing that if somebody messes up, if they cross you, if they do you dirty, um, just being able to, be able to control alt delete, as I like to say to my students, and reboot and try to start fresh the next day or the next time period or that next interaction. And I would also throw in their communication. If there were to be a
mm,
fourth thing, oh my gosh, like communication,
mhm,
I think it tippy toes on all those other things that I went. Because if you communicate what's going on in your life, then maybe someone will have more understanding and being able to extend you grace. Or if
mhm,
you let people know that, you know what, I think I got it, but I don't quite have it, that'll allow someone to have more patience with you. So, yeah, I
mhm.
listed four instead of
Hey,
three.
we gonna take all this sauce, okay, and sop it up, okay. So we said patience, understanding slash grace. I feel it, and forgiveness and communication are key when trying to train or teach somebody a new skill. It's from the words of the master, y'all. Y'all better come on and take these notes. Y'all better come on and take these notes. So that kind of leads us into another train of thought. Is my mind was somewhat blown going into the classroom and seeing now, pandemic aside and everything, because I understand that we may be a little bit behind because of being in the house, right? But looking at kind of the mindset of the generation coming and thinking about how does that translate, like how they think, how they operate. Everything's instant: microwave, cell phones, computer, social, likes, everything's bang bang, now, instant gratification. So thinking about how that translate, again, thinking about the workforce. Um and you have two children, right? One getting
Yes.
ready to go off to college. So if you were to speak to, let's say, somebody who's opening up a restaurant or a food service operation, and they're looking to hire, and this is who they're gonna be hiring. I mean, these folks,
Hmm.
and it's a totally different generation, totally different thought process. How, speaking on that communication, that fourth thing, how do we do that? Because the way I think and the way I feel, because my parents taught me, anything you do, you be the 100%, 110%, be the best. I don't care if you're picking up trash off the street. I don't care what you're doing. You put your 110% in. These kids now is like, how much I need to pass? Oh, I need what percent? I'm gonna do just enough to tiptoe, right? So how do we
Right.
communicate? How do we communicate the things we need to communicate to this generation coming up? I know that's a lot of pressure to
Yeah, I
answer
know.
that.
I think, and I totally agree with you because they will aim for the dirt. Um,
Mhm.
and I try to instill in my kids as well as my students, like anybody could be basic. Anybody
Mm.
could be whatever, but like you're better than that. And I think a lot of times they don't hear it. They don't hear that you're good. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. A lot of kids don't get that positive reinforcement. And I think, and going to the whole instant gratification and all these likes and follows and mentions and all that. And I try to tell my students and my kids that, first of all, half of that stuff is fake. All right.
Mhm.
It is just attention seeking, whatever. But you know who you are as a person, and you're better than basic. You're better than whatever. And like, particularly with my own children, like, if you want basic results, then you do basic things. But if you
Mhm.
want to live a lifestyle that's going to afford you some things that are better than the regular kind of stuff, then you need to do stuff that is going to give you results that are better than everybody else's or whatever. So, and reminding them that it takes work. Like, stuff doesn't happen overnight. Like, it's you got to put your grind in, you got to hustle, you also have to meet and greet people because you never know who is going to be that person that's going to help you out here, there, or wherever, or what kind
Mhm.
of connection you can build that's going to help elevate you or give you another opportunity. So definitely, yeah, just not aiming for the dirt. Try
Mhm.
to be better than basic, and just always being representative of who you are, and that goes with like how you dress, how you speak, how you carry yourself. Like, it's all within the package. Like, how you're representing yourself and your family is what you're showing me how to treat you.
Mhm.
And that's kind of, yeah, but I totally get it with the
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
skating by with the bare
Mhm.
bone minimum. But yeah,
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. If you want above average results, you need to put in some above average effort.
you got to
Mm.
put in
Mm.
work.
Put that work in. Be better than basic, she said. That might be the title of this podcast. Be better than basic. Okay. Note to self, when I go back and rewatch, okay, it's 11 minutes. Okay. Be better than basic is the title. I like that. I like that. I like that. And we got the book Above Average Service. Did I tell you I
Mm.
wrote a book with
No, what?
I wrote a book. It's called Above Average Service, right? So it talks about the 10 keys that restaurant owners and operators can instill in their front of the house staff and team
There
to
it
elevate
is.
their service. That's why that hit a chord with me. She said, be better than basic. Yes, be above average, people. Let's go. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, okay. So, Miss Burgess, I learn from you every day. Sometimes I don't even know if you trying. It's just, the energy and the it just flows from you. The wisdom just flows. I learn from you all the time. Just even listening to you interact with your students or even other teachers, administration and stuff. And I think I shared in the other podcast that didn't air, but I said that sometimes you'll say stuff to me and then later on I'll be like, I think she just corrected me. But you do it in such a nice, it's such a loving, flowing way that I don't even notice it at the moment. And so that's a skill. That's a skill set. And I respect that. But
Oh,
I just had to throw that in there because, everybody ain't able. I've heard some people interact with folks, especially from a restaurant management position, and they just come down on their people and just, why did you do this? And it's like, whoa, 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 and it's in front of everybody. And you just,
ee,
you know what I mean? And so it takes a very certain touch to gently guide,
to
right?
gently guide. I
To
like that.
gently guide,
Gently guide.
gently guide. So I respect, that's one of the things that I respect and appreciate about you. And I feel very fortunate to be able to learn at your feet, at the feet of the master.
Well, now you know all of that reciprocates because we've told you the stories of years before, or year or two before you came, and you are truly a blessing to our program as well as our department and our school. And you keep me like, oh, okay, well, no, I don't need to sit down. Let's go. So you definitely like the creativity, the ideas. It really, yeah, it is awesome. So I'm so glad that you're with us. So, so, so,
Well,
so glad.
I'm glad to be there. I've been in some work environments that they were a little rough around the edges, so I'm definitely happy. And so I gassed you up, as the kids say. That's what they see. The kids see one of the good things about teaching high school, they keep you, they keep
Hmm.
you in the flow of what's going on. So some of the sayings and stuff, I feel hip. But but saying all that to say, so when I look at the trajectory sometimes of people in education, one would think that 20 plus years experience, top of the game, multiple, I look at your email signature, you got all kind of letters and stuff. Tell us what those are, like the letters and the dots and the this, right? And so why not have you ever thought about going into an administrative role?
Briefly,
Okay.
briefly, that was about it.
Okay.
Most days I enjoy what I do. I really do love the kids. I love interacting with the kids. Again, most days, um, because it's just good to be able to shape the young minds. And in my head, I guess I've gassed myself up. I feel like nobody can do what I do how I do it. And I feel like it's somewhat of a gift to be able to teach kids and be relatable or be that auntie at school and like, girl, now you need to pull them pants up. Like, why you got on your little sister shirt? That in a
Mhm.
mothering, loving, but really with the rest of your shirt
Right,
kind of
right.
way. um I the other thing is I like my schedule. I like being a 10-month employee. Typically, I do some contract kind of work over the summer, but it's a choice and it's not what I'm forced to do. I go to a football game or a basketball game because I want to go, not because I have to go.
Mhm.
So I like the flexibility with the schedule as well as I love interacting with the young adults. I really do, and hoping that I'm making a difference in some little way while they're with me 90 minutes. So but yeah,
Yeah.
I like what I do for the most part.
Okay, okay. And so that kind of leads me to the next thought or question, is that part of the point of our show is to kind of showcase the different avenues people can go in the industry, because typically people think culinary arts, they think, "Oh, you're a chef, you're in the kitchen cooking in a restaurant." They don't think about, oh, okay, you can go work on a cruise ship, you can work in a hotel. They don't think about the hospitality side of it as much. But there's so many different things. I mean, you could be a supplier. There's so many different avenues in the industry, and teaching also is an avenue in the industry. Can you speak to as a career teacher, as a trained teacher, that as a career path? I think teaching gets kind of a bad rap in the sense of, I think everybody views teaching as an important profession, but oh, they don't get paid enough, or this and that and the third and all this other laundry list of stuff that kind of outweighs when you look at the pros and the cons. But speak to teaching as a profession. Like, you chose it and you continue to choose it because you could go do something else. And you said, nope, I'm on this path. This is what I want to do. And I'm going to continue down this path. So speak to the teaching as a profession, as a viable profession in the industry.
I think it's like so important. And I think when we were at home during the pandemic, I think folks realized how important teaching was, because nobody was trying to teach their kids, like, what y'all doing in
Right.
math? Like, that ain't how I learned math.
That new math.
Right. Myself included.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think education is a very, very important field, not just at our high school level, but at post-secondary education, whether it be at a career technical center or even at a college or university, because we do have two fine universities in our area, CPCC, the technical school, as well as Johnson and Wales, that have great culinary programs that are producing our future within the field. But most definitely, I feel like education is one of the backbones of our society. And you're right, it does get a bad rap. I think even with some folks entering the profession, it's almost like a gig in a way. Like, oh, I don't want to do such and such, so I'll just teach and end up quitting in the middle of the year and not realizing how much hard work and dedication that it is. And you're dealing with young people in which their home lives may be this way and that way, and coming to school is one of the stable things in their lives. And I think that's like very important to be a role model, to be a guiding force, to be that stable person in their life, that reliable constant that they can kind of rely on, and at the same time instill some knowledge in them as well. But it's a lot of hats that teachers wear. So it ain't for, it ain't for the weak. You got to be ready. If you're trying to do it and do it with integrity, you
Mm,
got to be ready. Now, if you're just trying to slide in for a check and some benefits and then slide out in a couple months, then that's you. But if you're looking to kind of make a career out of it, or at least a portion of your career out of it, it's a very, very crucial, vital part of our society.
mhm, mhm. For sure, for sure. I agree 100%. And I think I had no idea I had an idea what I was getting into, but I didn't know the full scope of what I was getting into. But I also remember and think about teachers that were super impactful in my life. I had an eighth grade math teacher named Miss Joke, who, like, I probably need to call her. We haven't talked in a while, but I'm still in touch with now, like, to this day. That was
Mm,
super impactful in my development. And so I just think about, like, if I could just, you can't reach every single one necessarily on that level, but the one or two or however many that you can, it's like, man, that feeling that I feel when I think about Miss Shilks, like, I want somebody to feel that way about me. Like, oh,
right.
that person really was impactful in my life. So that's part of what keeps me going and through the ups and downs and twirl arounds and all the things and all the hats.
Professional development, it
Yeah.
forms that like,
All
wait,
the
what I got
things.
to do with the kids? Like, it's a lot of stuff, a lot
That's
of stuff.
a lot of stuff. Yeah. And but I think anytime you do something new, so I haven't had a lot of major career changes personally, but it's all kind of been in the same vein except for maybe one or two experiences. But anytime you do something new, you can't know exactly what you're going to get, right? And so I talk to people sometimes who are wanting to enter the industry and the culinary arts or food and beverage industry, and they think they know. Like, but until you really get in there, you don't
Get
really
in there,
know.
in there,
You gotta
in the
get
weeds.
you gotta get in there, and then see if you gonna stick and stay. I think that's anything though. That's
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
at least give it a year. At
right,
least give it
for
one
sure,
full year.
for sure, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. So let's talk. Let's talk parent teacher communication, okay? Because
Mm,
um Man, it's been interesting trying to call parents, right? And so I think a parent might watch this and maybe get inspired, right? But it's always interesting when like parents have no idea what's going on with their child or with their student, right? Or they get on the defensive. Right? I've come across a lot of scenarios, right? Another scenario I've come across is, oh, well, I'm gonna talk to them right now today. I had a parent say that to me, like, I'm gonna talk because I don't get this is the second call I've gotten today. I'm gonna talk to them. No change, no conversation happened. Like let them. So let's talk to the parents right now. Let's talk to the
Hmm.
parents. Not slamming this generation because it is what it is, and our generation before us looked at us and said, "Oh, y'all crazy. Y'all got a lot going on." So I think it's just something that happens generation to generation. But let's talk to the parents and like if you could just that parent that you maybe couldn't get on the phone
Mm.
or like what would you want to say to them? How should they be paying attention to their student? How should they be encouraging their student? What should they be doing to make sure their student is engaged and productive at school?
So, when you started talking about parents, we had a former superintendent that had this great analogy of parent commitment to and communication. Like they say in elementary school, parents are married
Mhm.
to I guess, the school. In middle school, they're separated, and by high school, it's a divorce.
Okay.
Um, and the crazy thing is, in high school, I think as a parent myself, this is when you need to lock in, as the kids say, because students at that age are able to make life altering decisions, like stuff that can just put them on a whole nother trajectory. Like major kind of
Mhm.
stuff that you probably wouldn't experience so much in middle and elementary school. And I think the mentality of some parents, oh, you know what you're supposed to do? Just go. You know you're supposed to be passing your classes, and they kind of take their hands off the wheel. When you really need to be like put checking that GPS every 5 minutes. And I'm the parent where I've told my personal kids I don't like surprises.
Right.
So I know their Power School logins and I'm checking it periodically and I'm micromanaging some. Like, okay, well, so what's up with this assignment? All right, well, can you resubmit it? Are you able to, so as an educator parent, I guess I'm a little more in tune with how things run a little bit. But as a parent, that is your business. This is your child. Be a parent. Be a parent. Just like I wouldn't let my kids eat apple pie for dessert. Um, and I'm going to make sure that they're eating something nutritionally sound, you can't just leave things to chance. Like you can't just let them make their own decisions. That's just I mean, yeah, a little bit, but not all the time. Like, and make sure you still got the training wheels on. Like I said, in ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, they can make decisions that could make you a grandparent,
Mm,
can make you bail somebody out of jail.
mm. True.
Like you're still responsible for these children. They may think they may look grown, but they're not grown. They're still a
Mhm.
child. They still have a child's mentality. Like you're not just gonna let them be all willy nilly. Like be a parent, stay in
Mm,
control. That's
mhm.
about simple as that. Parent that child. Like you don't want to leave it up to TikTok and Instagram to raise your kid.
No.
Because if you are not being that influencing factor, then what is?
Mhm.
Like, make sure you know what your child is feeding into themselves. Like, if they're feeding in negativity, if they're feeding in violence into themselves, then that's going to be reflective with their personality because
Mhm.
you are what you're around and their peers as well.
Mm.
Like, if your if your kid has three friends that's smoking weed, but your child isn't smoking weed, they gonna be smoking weed because that's their peer circle. But on
Mhm.
the opposite side, if you got kids that are scholarly that are hanging around your kids and like, oh, well, what classes you taking next semester? Well, I'm in honor so and so. Well, I got AB honor roll. Like that energy feeds off of one another. So you are the sum of what you're surrounding yourself with. So making sure that your kids' friends, as well as the energy of whatever's feeding into them, is going to be something that you want to see. But then
Mhm.
at the same time, I'm gonna step on somebody. So some parents aren't parenting, like they
Mm.
just got their hands off and doing them, and then wondering why the kid in the ninth grade again, or in the
Mhm.
10th grade again, or why they aren't, graduating on time. Like you
Mhm.
still got to be a parent. You still got to drive that car. Like,
Mhm.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's all I got to
Yeah.
say about that. I got a little
Yeah.
passionate.
I feel you on that. The stay in control. I think I shared with you. I talked to a parent recently, and they were baffled. Like, "Hey, your student hasn't been in school. I don't, what's going on? I'm calling to check. Finals are coming up. What's happening?" And then they're like, "Oh, well, she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to go to school. We don't know what to do about it."
Mm,
Ninth
not your
grade,
choice.
though. Ninth
Not your choice.
ninth grade. I'm not talking maybe, senior, 17, 18, maybe, have a job supporting yourself almost or any of that. None of that was this. I'm like, okay.
I know.
So that
Yeah.
so that stay in control, that's key.
Yeah,
That is
thank
key.
she don't have it like you don't say, and what are you doing all that time?
Right.
Like that's a lot of time to kill.
A
You're
lot
not
of
gonna be
time.
sitting around here eating up all my groceries, not as high as eggs are. You must no, 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 no. And here's the thing, and
Oh.
school is not for everyone. I
Mhm.
totally get that. So you figure out what's for your child, like whether they need to go to an alternative path for a GED. But what you're not going to do is just drop out
Right.
with an eighth grade education because
Right.
you really don't have your ninth grade education yet. You hadn't finished ninth grade. So you just
Nope.
got an eighth grade education.
Mhm.
What you going to do with that?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Like nothing in this world is gonna be, and that ain't even that's below basic there. Now I don't know
Mhm.
what kind of life you gonna have.
Right.
And that's another thing.
Right.
I'm like, if parents would get like, if you feed into your child to do something great, then that's less work for you. Because if they don't have any type of skill set, where they gonna move? Nowhere, because they're gonna still be staying with you the rest of their life. Like I just
Right up under you or in the garage,
right.
in the den.
Right. Eating up your groceries. Like,
Lights on, air on,
hot. TV on overnight,
watching,
running up the power bill.
try to tell you, listen. So that kind of segues to the last question I have for you. So as an educator, as a parent, and then speaking about, we're mostly focused on food and beverage, culinary arts, and hospitality. How do you or how have you encourage your children and or students to pursue a particular path? Let's say there's a spark. You recognize your kid loves to cook. They're always in the kitchen. They're always watching, asking questions. They want to try to make stuff. Let's say, how would you recommend that a guardian kind of encourage that? I know your girls dance. They got their thing. They doing their whole thing. How do you help that flourish?
So one, I don't get caught up with TikTok and Instagram. Because and I'm sure there's some great recipes out there, but personally, I just kind of get a trigger like, yeah, I saw on TikTok.
Mhm.
So it's sensationalized a lot of stuff. And my children, my personal children, they like to cook. They don't like to clean up, but they like to cook. And so I will have them, especially if it's something that they like in particular. If I'm making the spinach dip that they absolutely love, well, come on in and won't you help me make the spinach dip? Or like they also like my pound cake. Well, come on in, let's make this pound cake together. Or let me show you how to cut up greens, and that sort of thing. And the same thing with my students. Especially, I know in a lot of our communities, like Auntie may make the best mac and cheese, but Auntie isn't using a recipe.
Mhm.
Auntie has made it a million times, and Auntie knows what it should look like, what texture, and all of that. But if you love Auntie's mac and cheese, you need to be in the kitchen with Auntie so you can learn how
Mhm.
to make that mac and cheese. Otherwise, when Auntie gets called to glory, nobody knows how to make that mac and
No.
cheese
Yeah.
or that
Yeah.
pound cake or whatever soup it is or whatever that
Mhm.
dish is. So just getting in there. Um, and not being afraid to fail, because
Mm.
everybody messes up something at some point in time. I remember during the pandemic, I was making that pound cake, had it on video, ready to slice it up, and didn't realize I was using salt instead of sugar. And it was like totally like so many things was wrong with it, but had to go back, like, okay, let me dump all this. Obviously, this was not sugar, this was salt. Let me make sure I label it number one, but
Mhm.
went right back in there and did it over to, like that I'm not going to end on that bad note. Like you got to get
Mhm,
back in and try it again. But definitely just getting in and doing it. Like
mhm,
you just got to do it
mhm, mhm,
and not
mhm.
just watch the videos of other people doing it, but you have to do it yourself.
That hands-on practice. I like
Exactly.
that. Yeah, I like that. That's good advice. Hands-on and don't be afraid to fail. If you do, dust yourself off, try it again. It's
Try
gonna
it
be all
again.
right. It's
Hopefully
gonna
it
be
doesn't
all
involve eggs though. I promise you,
I'm trying
them
to
eggs are
tell you.
crazy.
And I'm wondering what the grocery stores are going through. Like I went, where was I at? I was in a store maybe 2 nights ago, and the egg shelf was very, very bare. Like they had some eggs, but I think they were like, "Oh, we just gonna order what we need to order. We're not doing no
Mhm.
extra, no extra ordering because it's wild. It's wild out here.
Yeah,
Hopefully, it levels out soon.
I hope so. Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a little
I don't
crazy.
know. Yeah, for real. For real. Well, Miss Burgess, I'm not gonna hold you too much longer. I appreciate you coming on here, dropping some words of wisdom, sharing some of that knowledge you have about being an educator in the space, a mom in the space. I look forward to continuing to learn from you. And I hope that you viewers learn something too. Should have been taking notes, these gems going away. And I don't have my hand clap sound effect on here. I have to tell you though, you're the only guest that I ever had on that I had the hand clap audio. So I'm just gonna give you the real, just thank you
Actual
for
hand
what you
clap.
do. The actual hand clap, no sound effect, the actual hand clap. But I'm not saying I never will for any other guest, but you so far, we're on episode 17, only guest I ever had to just give you the applause when you came on because thank you. Thank you for what you do and continue to do every day for the children.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate the
Yes.
spotlight.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That is it, folks. So, folks, if you have questions or comments related to the education space or teaching culinary arts and hospitality space, maybe you're interested in getting started, think about maybe I might want to teach some, drop a comment down below. I'm sure Miss Burgess will be happy to answer any questions from her wealth of knowledge. I got a little bit. I got 3 years in the game, but compared to compared to her, I'm still sitting at her feet trying to soak it all up. Soak it all up. Yeah. Also, if you're interested in getting the book Above Average Service, I'll drop the link in the description below. Anything else you want to say to the people before we get out of here, Miss Burgess?
No, thank you so much for this opportunity. I really enjoyed this. This is pretty cool.
All right. That's all, folks. Thank you for listening to the Hospitality Hacks Pro Show. We're out of here.